New Year. We have this really exciting day here just to a talk. We probably aren't going to talk longer than 45 minutes. Look, Bette Midler's here from Ladera Ranch, California. There's famous people here. Well, I'm so glad you're here now, Hoku. Okay, the discussion today is 3D, as in Deborah, Debbie, and Da, astrology. Okay, glad to be here. We're going to talk about, as beginners, I'd like to know how many of you, just by show of hands in that little chat room, are beginners. Like, just say yes if you're a beginner and you haven't really jumped into astrology yet, but you're interested in it. Look at them all. Woo!
People can actually click a button too that shows them raising their hands. So quite a few people are raising their hands.
Okay, good. There you go. I don't see anybody raising their hand. Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Okay, good. So I'm going to speak to your beginners, and those of you that already know astrology, this will be a review. But what I want to talk to today is, how do you make astrology, first of all, what is its function? How do you make astrology 3D come to life? And what are some of the references that you might want to look to gain more information as a beginner? Like, if I were you and I just started studying astrology and I didn't have access to Deborah Silverman's astrology class that's starting in February, because that was true, I didn't. How would I go about entering this conversation and finding meaning for myself and know where to start? Because, you know, the sky's the limit. So here's how it works. Yes, exactly, Amy. The function of astrology, the other night I was standing outside with my sweet, friendly little best friend, who I really kind of annoys me, but it does seem to live with me. Kiss it. Kiss your phone. And I put my phone up to the sky because I have this app called Tell Me Everything, something like that. I made that up. And I circled the sky, and all of a sudden I came to the moon and Mars and Neptune and Venus. And on my computer, they all went ding, 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 ding. And I stopped and I looked. It was last night. It happened again. So the moon was like a little crevice, and in the middle of the moon, I saw Mars, and below the moon, I saw Venus, and behind the moon was Neptune. And I thought to myself, all these astrology students, there's like 300 of you here right now, they love astrology and they're captured by this. And we have to look at the sky. We talk about it all day. So I was going to say American, but it's so human. It's transcendent from countries that we talk all day. You know how grown-ups talk all day and kids play? Well, we talk all day about the stars, but to actually touch them and to look out and to time travel. And I imagine myself going out to Neptune, and I closed my eyes, and we can all do it now. And imagine that today there's 4 planets in Neptune. Sorry, there's 4 planets in Pisces. I love Neptune, it's so confusing. There's 4 planets in Pisces, and there's an energetic in the world right now that is inviting us to be aware that the stars are out, and they have this relationship with us, and they have like strings, like in puppets. Like if you imagined you were a puppet right now, and there were strings attached to you, and the strings were connected to the heavens. And so if you had a strong influence of Pisces, any of you Pisces out there, anybody that's got Cancer or Scorpio, these last 2 days has been an exceptionally emotional time. How many of you have felt it, crying for no reason, or feeling disoriented, or feeling really excited about your dreams coming true, or getting so much done? I kind of did a research project yesterday. Half the people I talked to were like, this Pisces Capricorn energy really got me focused. I lie on my back and listen to the bats, said Katrina. This Pisces energy really got me focused to take the Capricorn and add it. If you imagine 4 planets in Pisces asking you to dream and to imagine your world shifting, it's 2017 and there's kinds of little floaty things all around, but your Capricorn's like, what are we going to do? These last couple of days have been asking us, how are we going to focus our dreams? And to think that you could put an app out and hold it up to the sky and see where the 4 planets were and let your imagination run on the wings of those clouds all the way up through the, cyberspace, out to the levels of the planets, out to the levels of the highest sky. And there is an electromagnetic field affecting all of you right now. And we're talking about astrology, which is Neptunian, which is Piscean. And for any of you beginners, go read about Pisces. That lets me enter into our conversation. So let's say you're a beginner and you think, what is Deborah talking about? There's 4 planets in Pisces. So in your mind's imagination, let's all do this together since there's 4 planets in Pisces. Above our heads, there's this big giant piece of pie. It's a big pie. It's not a piece of, it's a big giant pie all over. You're in the middle of it. And there's 12 different pieces of the pie. And one piece of the pie, and I can tell you where it is because last night it was out there, is Pisces. And in that sliver of the piece of pie, there's 4 planets all hanging out together. And the influence then from the electromagnetic force field is they're starting to come down right now on you. Your body, your mind, your heart, your psyche is being influenced today, and so is the baby that just got born today, by this intergalactic magical formula that has to do with something we can't see, which is a force field that is strings on you right now pulling you. So imagine right now, let's everybody lift up your hand and put your hand down. You think you're choosing to do that, ha ha, watch. That's called free will. But where the free will stops is the influence of the planets affecting our psyches and realizing, here's the good news, you guys ready? You are directly related to those planets, and they are directly related to you. And at some level, you are stardust, and you are merging with that frequency, and it's dancing with you as an electromagnetic force field because it resonates with you. And to the degree that you're sensitive to the 4 planets in Pisces is the degree to which you can start dancing in harmony with the cosmos. And this is how magic occurs. Is the combination of Pisces Capricorn is quintessential magic. You dream, you float, your imagination includes a scientific notion that the planets are connected to us and that we are puppets on a string described by a cosmic dance. And then your Capricorn takes notes from what I'm saying, and it says electromagnetic field affecting my body that allows me to dance with the cosmos. And then you become an agent or a conduit to facilitate the will of the cosmos. Hoku, aren't you glad we didn't have a drink before I started? God, just think how crazy I'd be. So the point of the story is there is a relationship right now between you and the cosmos. You were not pushed on the bus. You did not get thrown here by mistake. You did not consciously pick your parents. I hate that theory, that spiritual theory, but you did assign yourself the commitment to your soul's promise that you too would take on the role of assuming the position of a soul in service to the sky. Write that down, a soul in service to the sky. That's you. Every single one of you is in service to the sky. And inside that magical piece of the pie called Pisces, and that dimension is an intelligence so far beyond us, and they want nothing more than to see the experiment they put in place here, which was kind of a funny experiment, to see if humans could actually remember the invisible world. So all of you here right now who are devoted to astrology, there's like 300 of us, we are the ones awakening inside the stream saying, I do want to understand the stars. I want to know who my puppet master is. And I want to have a relationship with that which created me. So you can write that down. I want to have a relationship with that which created me. And the auspicious day of today and yesterday is all about this incredible magical doorway where there's mystical beings who are watching us from a distance that are not human. So don't conjure up little white beards and little small people jumping up and down or witches with long noses. Quite the contrary. It's an energetic, effortless magic that's occurring. And for any of you out there who are suffering right now, that your human body's not capable of feeling good, or your emotional body or your mental body, my invitation for you is to do step number 1 in this class today. Go read about Pisces. So here's what I would do if I were you as a beginner. I would go to the YouTube channel and I would put in Deborah Silverman Pisces. How many of you have done that? And watch my funny little videos that millions of people have watched. They're 5 minutes long. And you too are going to learn about the Pisces influence. Now, I love that line. Your spirit is working overtime. Your spirit world, the invisible world, they love to work. That magical formula, the matrix, the amazing frequency that is operating with our systems are working with us. But, cock-a-doodle-doo, wake up. But if your body is toxic, from drugs, from alcohol, from sugar, from coffee, from sweeteners, that the frequency, the ability for you to be really available, to be the conduit, it shortens. So if you want to know how to get into relationship with the spirit world, 1 is meditation, 1 is asking and praying, 1 is cleaning up and doing fasting, 1 is giving yourself permission to be with the elements in nature, with the trees or with the ocean or with the bees or with the birds, and just giving your harmony, your life force over to that which is bigger than us, like I did last night lying on the ground. Remember that, Hoku, lying on the ground, looking up? That is how you become a conduit or an emissary or an agent of astrologers. So that's the short answer. The first thing I want you to do, you guys, while these 2 days before today is over, is go read about Pisces. Here's number one. If you're going to become an astrologer, you want to learn about astrology, you've got to know the 12 signs so well. So Pisces is the sign that has to do with other worlds, the bridge between this world and that world. The scientific fascination, said Einstein, the Pisces, to understand how energy works. The belief, said Terence McKenna, any of you that know him, that there's little beings in the world that are short and little, you can't see them, and they're creating form as we speak. They created the computer you're on, and they wait for us to have a relationship. And people take DMT, and they take ayahuasca, and they take psychedelics to see if they can bridge those worlds. So if you're interested in astrology, step number one, according to Alice Bailey, is it all starts in Pisces. Because in my system, the dream came first. The invisible world comes first. The frequency comes first, the vibration. Pisces is the beginning of this conversation. Now, you go read Alice Bailey's version of Pisces, it's the savior. You go look at Alyssa Sharp. Alyssa Sharp is a great young astrologer who's on the internet that gives away free information, but she swears all the time. So she entertains you by saying the fucking word all the time, and then you're suddenly listening to her, but she's teaching you about Pisces. And you read about Pisces, you study Pisces, you look at the people you know that are Pisces, and you say to yourself this question, write it down. What was God thinking when she made Pisces? Write it down. What was God thinking when she made Pisces? She wanted a sign to start the zodiac with an esoteric law. It starts with Pisces that would allow us to dream in a reality that wasn't limited to the physical body, that would include past lives, that would include the mystical doorway, and realize that we're multidimensional. And that if you can keep your attention on that realm while staying grounded, Capricorn, we become the magicians that can then play this game. So I'm going to ask you in your life right now, do you realize that you're a puppet? Kind of embarrassing when you start thinking about it. That your life is being described by stars, that astrology will describe your fate. And that if you're interested to learn, whether it's from Alice Bailey, whether it's from Alyssa Sharp, whether it's from Linda Goodman, another book that I encourage all of you to read, and then just do one chapter a month. Like here we are, you could just begin studying with Capricorn, but I had to start with Pisces because there's a stellium. Anybody know what that word means? Yes. When there's 4 planets, well, let's back up. When there's 3 planets in one sign, in like right now in the heavens, if you go look out tonight, when you see the moon and Mars and Venus and Neptune, you can't see Neptune, but all in one place, we call that a stellium. And that tells us that at this moment in the Intergalactic Council, they are throwing down sparkling flavors of Pisces to you. And you go read about it. That's my short answer. How to make astrology become 3D? You ask yourself this question. What was God thinking when she made you? What was God thinking when she made you? What was the exercise about? What was the intention of your soul to come on down? That's why people take my astrology class, to answer that question. Why am I here? This is so Pisces. They secretly stay in their bedroom alone at night. They stare at the stars, and they can stare for a long time. They don't even talk. They just like, and they ask themselves over and over again, what is going on? And then they get confused. And then to the rescue, dun, 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 comes Capricorn and goes, excuse me, it's time to go to bed. You have work to do. And why are you asking these stupid questions? Now, that's the hard part when they're polarized. When they're friends, the Pisces in all of you is longing to know who the puppet master is. Without getting pissed off at God, that's one flavor of Pisces, being very sad. They're 2 fish going in opposite directions, like that. Remember in The Wizard of Oz? Was I going that way or that way? That's so Pisces. I'm a little confused. If you ask the question, what was God thinking when they made you? You begin the entrance of astrology. So let's talk about astrology as a 3D experience. You're it. You pop. Your life story, your saga. Are you lonely? Are you depressed? Are you overweight? Are you missing sex? Do you not have a partner? Did your dog die? Did you hate your parents? Are you feeling out of your job? All those negative trap doors I just mentioned, ew. They're all indicators that the puppet is trying to get you to go, hold on a minute, it's 2017, I want a life. And that's why you take my class. It's all a commercial. So, yes, you can create beauty any which way, but the first thing I want all of you to do today, if I have one role in this webinar today to bring astrology into 3D, is for me to bring it real to you. I want to ask you this question. How committed are you to being in this life? So just do this together as a group. There's 300 of us here. 0 to 10. How committed are you to being in this life as it is and really learning your lessons? First number that comes to mind. Wow. Wow. That's impressive. 19. So that's very good. That's why you're here. That's why you're all, look at this. Molly Nelson, you're on a roll. 10 plus. Okay, good. Is anybody in this room feeling down? Kind of like it. We're all fucking here. Okay, good. We've got Susan Wagner. There's a little bit of indecisive. That's okay. Now that we're all here, that's so cool. Now, the next question I'm going to ask you is, how much have you accepted your fate as described by your circumstance? Are you in acceptance? If you're accepting your fate and you look around and you go, this is what I got, and I'm willing to accept it, 0 the lowest, 10 the highest. How much have you accepted your fate the way it is? 0. I love that. Look at that. Okay, good. Those low scores are making me excited. -1. 0, 0, 0. Okay, now, for those of you that are looking around at your fate, look at that. Oops. If you're committed to being here, they've made a distinction between the desire to be here, which clearly you've shown up because you're here, and the belief, and here's where we're a dilemma, the belief that this world as you've described it is exactly as it should be, and your chart is too. And if you don't have a high score on accepting your fate the way it is, now we've got to start talking. And what's going to happen over these next few webinars is I'm going to give you more and more content according to your sign of what can you do. Last time we talked about the resolutions. You've got to stand up inside your life and say, you know what, if I don't like it, if I'm running low at a 0, Barbara or Yvette, if I don't know how to make myself feel committed to being here, this will be the commitment on this webinar tonight. Your decision is as simple as this. Those matrix, that cosmic design, those strings that are being pulled from on high, you and them were in cahoots, and you signed a bottom line that said, put me on planet Earth 2016 with my chart, with my storyline, with my body, with my hairdo. That's what you did. You signed. There's no buyer's remorse in this movie. You're in. Now, to accept your fate is a conscious decision. And I want you to look around your world and start by saying, if you're not happy, what is the small thing I can change? Astrology is going to direct you towards the 3 influences that are easy access to. Ready? Your sun sign is easy. Whatever your sun sign is, if you're an Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Scorpio, Sag, Capricorn, Sag, or Pisces, Aquarius, that's the nature of your personality. Good luck with that. That's not going anywhere. Your moon describes your emotional temperament. Go look at just pull off the chart, just your moon, and start to look at the nature of your moon energy, and you're going to find out, wow, my emotional body, as described by water, is so sensitive. My emotional body described by air just loves to talk. My emotional body described by earth is solid as a tree, and I can get a little lazy. My emotional body is described by fire is pissed off. That's the simple short answer. Go look for your moon. But what I really want to talk to you about tonight is, where is your rising sign? Because this is where those puppet strings are going to give you some options, and they're always going to be an angst. Your rising sign, your soul, the ascendant, that which you're rising toward, is what we resist. So just write that down. Your rising sign is what you resist. And if we're back to the question of how to fall in love with your fate, you've got to steer right into your rising sign and go, tell me about it. So let's talk. If you're Aries rising, you came in this life to be feisty, and you've got to learn to fight. If you came in with Taurus rising, you came in as a solid, stable tree, and you probably think you're boring, but you're not. If you came in with Gemini rising, you came in here to be communicative and think and talk and analyze and ask a million questions. If you're not doing that, something's fishy. That was Pisces over there. If you're Cancer rising, you came in with a body that wants nothing more, ready, than to feel pleasure. If you're not, something's fishy.
Deborah, can we back up for a second? A lot of people don't know their rising sign yet. Can we go through how to get their chart really quick?
Bingo. I'm going to stop at Cancer. Astro.com. Welcome to my good friend Carrie. This is very simple for all you beginners. Ready? Astro.com is the answer to all the questions of the universe. You go on the home page and you click on, it comes up like looking like this. Here's the home page. Oh, la, 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 la. Under the top is the free horoscopes. We click there. Then we scroll to the right. In the very last category, it says natal chart. Right under drawings is the first category, natal chart. Click. Up is going to come an empty slate. Can you add new person? Just click on add new person. Go up to the yes right there. This is what you're going to see when you see this. And in here, you're going to put your birth. Let's put today's birth date. So you're going to write down today as, yep, female. Today's a female. It is January 2nd, 3rd. You're right, 2017. Isn't that trippy? And it's 3/24. Well, let's do in Hawaii. Let's do 6/24. Do 6/24. That would be in New York. That would be in Boulder, Colorado. Up comes, here, you see how you can do all this? Super cool, super cool. Now, yes, that's fine, that works, that's perfect, click. Isn't this perfect? Look at this chart right now, I love this. So here's today's chart, right at this minute, you guys. Astrology coming 3D. This is what look, you can't see through your building, but above your head, we are, if we were in Boulder, we're right in the middle. Point to the middle of the chart, Carrie. We're sitting in a room. And above our head, oh my God, this is too perfect, is Uranus. Point to Uranus. So this is the chart. Uranus is on top of the sky. The hospital bed is in the middle of that circle. The sun is below the horizon because it's 6:24 in the evening. That big black line in the middle of the chart, that's the horizon. The sun just went down below the horizon. There it is. And it's sitting on Pluto. I love this. And look, remember those 3 planets in Pisces I talked about? Can you show us them? The moon is in Pisces. Mars is in Pisces, Neptune's in Pisces, and Venus is in Pisces. Oh my God. Let's all get spaced out. Why are we so on point here? This is Pisces land. Let's get confused. I'm going to yawn. Ready? Ooh, that was Pisces. So the answer to your question is the rising sign. Let's go over there. The rising sign is the words AC. It's a circle. She's circling it right now. If you look in the little blue box, go over there to the left, AC, write it down. Rising sign is AC. Why is it AC? Because it stands for ascendant. It's a Latin word. So we have the ascendant at the moment in Boulder, Colorado at 6/24 is Leo rising. If you were born there right now, happy birthday, you'd come out with Leo rising. And the short answer is, I was describing Leo rising people. You came in this life to show off. You came in to be bold, even though you always resist your rising sign. It's the funniest thing. Move it down one, Carrie. If you came in as Virgo rising, you were born an hour later. You came in with practicality and the desire to really be an example of the human condition at its best. That's what Virgo rising promised. If you came in with Libra rising, you came in to learn about relationships. What is the nature of relationship? Why do relationships? Why am I ambivalent coming in and going out? If you came in as Scorpio rising, you came in to take that experience of intensity and take your soul's commitment to wanting to focus negativity and bring it up and lighten it into consciousness. Good luck with that. Not easy. If you came in with Sag rising, you were like, I'm going to have a party down there. The puppet said, we're going to give them a fun past life. If you have future life, if you have Sag rising, you scored. That's the one karmic indicator of some soul who said, I'm going to travel and have fun and learn about philosophy. What's more fun than that? And if you're Capricorn rising, you're like, I'm going to go down and be serious. I'm going to take this lifetime and be purposeful. I'm going to finish this life and accrue good merit. Capricorn rising is a lifetime where someone does soulful work and they get brownie points when they're done. You know who I'm talking to. Aquarius rising, I want to be weird. I'm not interested in being normal, and I will not be able to make decisions because I've got 45 variations at all times. 29 degrees Sag. You are fully Sag, Michelle Larson. And last is Pisces rising. Now we're back to Pisces. Look at this. This one is the most confused souls because they are in the other world. Are you tracking this, you guys? Astrology is about understanding the flavors of the 12 signs, figuring out who the puppet string guy is, making friends with the puppet string, falling in love with your fate, accepting this reality as it is, because once you start arguing and you get into relationship with that cosmic matrix, I swear to God, my job as your teacher, as a teacher of astrology, is to encourage you to be your natural self. And once that becomes clear, once your body is tingling and resonating and clean, it's the easiest thing in the world to facilitate magic. But the default of the human condition by design is gravity. It falls on your head. Want to hear? Gravity. So if you want to learn how can you use your chart to facilitate the magic in your life. So let me give you an example. This is a great example. I had a client today call me. I've been working with her for over years and years and years. It's a great story. She has a friend who is a male. They've been best friends. I gave people in this New Year resolution last week on our webinar that if you have a best friend that you've been best friends with forever, but you've never kissed them because you didn't want to ruin the friendship, but you know that you're in love, but you didn't want to tell them because of a million, tell them. So last night at dinner, they admitted it to each other. Woo! This is what happens in astrology. I gave her permission based on her chart to use her Aries. She's an Aries. Like, give it up. Let it go. And her partner or best friend has Mercury in Scorpio. What you learned about is he can't find words. So he never says anything. When she initiated, and it only took one drink and she stopped them there so they didn't get silly, he admitted he was in love with her. Oh my God, I was so excited. It just came through my sweet little telephone. You too can fall in love, but you've got to get yourself into the flow state. It took me a year or two to have her comfortable in her skin. So why do you want to come study astrology? Because you can't get to me that easy. I've got too many clients. But what you can do is get to my students. I've got 100 million students who want to give you reasonable readings and remind you of how to be comfortable in your skin, come back home and accept your fate or not. In which case, you change the furniture, you rearrange the room, maybe you move. But if you're not happy with your fate, I'm not drinking to that. But if you're happy with your fate, okay. Why it's not real, this reality is an illusion, except for karma. Karma is not an illusion. It's one, they say the one law is that what goes out comes back. So my suggestion to everyone is, pay attention to what you're doing in your life as far as giving. Make your life's promise that you'll give it. When people say to me, how did I get so lucky? I have been the quintessential waitress. Everywhere I go, can I give you something? Can I help you with something? Can I give you something? Can I serve you? Is there anything you don't understand? I learned at a young age to not do it unless I asked. They either have to ask me or pay me because I gave away too much free information that people didn't want and they got mad at me. My question is, for you as a beginner astrologer, do you know your sun, moon, and rising? Can you go towards your rising sign and absolutely attach yourself to it and study it? Can you go read Alyssa Sharp? Can you go read Alice Bailey? Can you go read Linda Goodman and find out what is your rising sign? So when the puppet strings start giving you the wrong direction, you can go, excuse me, that is so not who I am. I'm not supposed to be in that job. I'm in the wrong relationship. I'm not supposed to be eating like this. This is ridiculous. Why am I so disconnected from myself? Because I gave up hope? Because I lost my rhythm? Getting a little excited. Okay. So it's not about your sun sign, Julie. I'm going to suggest to all of you beginners to go find out what your rising sign is. And that is determined by your moment of your birth. Here's how you find it. It's very simple. You go on astro.com, free horoscopes. You roll down to chart drawing, the first category. You click on chart drawing, put in your information. You look for AC and what would be 9 o'clock on a clock. You look for your AC and then you study that rising sign like it's your new best friend, because it is. Because your ego is confused and it's miserable because egos are stupid. And the soul is like sitting in the hall going, hey, come with me. And the soul is your rising sign. So the exercise in this lifetime is to find the comfort in your skin to drive yourself towards what's your, and like, so if honestly, I could go through all 12 signs again, but I want you to go find out what your rising sign is. And how do you do that? Come take a class. There's 2 ways to do it. One is you can sign up during right now. The cart's going to open on January 26th. And Carrie, you can put the link in there. Just go take the astrology beginner class and find out what the 3 main things are: sun, moon, and rising. What's your Mercury? What's your shadow? I love it. Today I had a client, I loved her. She started the session by saying, I want to know my shadow. I was like, this is a prayer answered. You know what your shadow is? It's where you stick your finger in the mud and you get stuck. I'm never going to have a relationship. I'm never going to have healthy. I'm never going to have love. I'm like, are you kidding me? What, really? Am I like the cheerleader for happiness or something? Is that what I mean? If that's my job, I'm all in. Okay.
I have some questions. Can we get to some of those now?
Yes, I'm so ready.
Okay, first, I think that we skipped over Gemini and Cancer rising. So can you go through those a little bit?
I did say Gemini rising. I remember distinctly what I said. And I remember saying Cancer. Gemini rising was, you guys must talk, you must communicate, and if you're not, something's wrong. That's what I said. And Cancer has to feel tingly in their body. They should be feeling so excited about being in a body. And if you're a Cancer rising and you've lost your body, or you've gained weight, or you've disregarded the sensitivity you are, you missed the boat. I did say that, Carrie.
Okay. A couple people are asking about what type of astrology you're using and how that differs from others.
Okay, perfect. There's different systems. Placidus is what I use. There's the Koch system, K-O-C-H. There's equal house system. There's ancient systems. I don't really care as long as you stick to one. And why did I stick to that one? It's the most popular. It's the one that astro.com uses. It's the one that every easily accessed astrology uses. You have to be more sophisticated to use the other systems. And I don't care what system you use as long as you stick to it. It's been 40 years I've been doing this, and I love the Placidus because I've had so much deep experience with it. It's that simple. And by the way, years ago, if you were taking this beginner class, we'd be talking a lot about math, but you don't have to learn any math except the aspects, which is what you learn in level 2, the squares and the trines and the sextiles. You just have to learn how to push buttons on a computer. And in 5 minutes short, bing, here comes your chart. Next question.
What if somebody doesn't know their birth time?
That's where a professional astrologer comes in. They can do something called rectification. That's where psychics come in. They can give you a clue. You can still do a lot of astrology without your birth time. You can figure out what your life lesson is. So if you can't work with your rising to get to your purpose at the highest level as far as your soul, the next best thing is Saturn, and then the next best thing is the North Node. The 3 things that Silverman teaches you: Saturn, the rising, and the North Node. Those are the gauges or the clues to find out what the karma was, what the puppet string people are watching to see how you're doing. They're like winking at you.
Cool. What if their rising sign is at 0 degrees?
Yeah. So the rising sign changes. Within 15 minutes, you can go from 0 degrees to 1 degree. So the time of your birth is really relevant. And it's not easily accessed, because I worked in a hospital when I was many moons ago. I lived in Alaska, and I worked in the hospital in admitting. And the nurses would call down as soon as the baby was born. Well, we all know that when a nurse is in the room catching that baby, they are not staring at the clock. However, when I gave birth, I had someone in the room staring at the clock. So it's of course it'll be off. And when you have a reading with a good astrologer, and any of the ones trained by me, and we have some certified astrologers, if you're interested in getting a reading by a certified astrologer for less money than mine, you can just go on my website and see there's a web page under Learn. Is that right, Carrie? Where the certified astrologers are?
Yep. Under getting a reading, it's in the same place where they would get a reading with you.
So if you want to get a reading for someone, like for, a really good, enthusiastic person who's been through all my classes and really gotten good, there's several of them that are excellent. And isn't that you, Hoku? You're one of them. Raise your hand right there. She's so good. Then you'll get the answer to that question. Am I really an Aries rising? Well, if your temperament is if someone is on the phone with me and they're between Pisces and Aries, and Pisces, they're at 0 degrees Aries, And when they're talking to me, they start spacing out and they kind of fakely come in and they go out. I'm like, you're not Aries rising. And you can tell. That takes a little bit of time and exercise, but it becomes very obvious. And a good astrologer will be able to help you with that. And it is really literally a 15-minute increment when it changes from one sign to the other. So it's relevant and it's significant.
Can you talk a little bit about North Node, which, yes, Maria, is also true node, and what that represents in somebody's chart?
That's like the most important indicator psychologically. My work as a psychologist or as a therapist is to facilitate your evolution. All I want to do in this whole practice of mine is to make you aware of what is the impulses that are operating in your psyche that you're not feeling conscious of, but they keep controlling you. So for example, let's say you talk a lot. It's nothing personal. Let's say you talk a lot and you realize that you're in a party or you're in the elevator or you're in a friendship where you find yourself talking and they don't talk back, but it annoys you because you can't stop. Then you learn, oh my God, I'm Gemini rising. I so need words. All of a sudden the permission slip comes out. And that's what my work is. All of my students and all of you that are studying astrology, remember when you were a kid and you would get permission slips to go stay out from school? I remember those so well. My mom signing the permission slip. I'm going to sign your permission slip to say, this is what you're meant to be doing. So ask me the question again, Carrie.
Just people wanted to know what the North Node represented.
So if I find out my North Node is in Gemini, and that's the clue of my shadow, based on North Node at times is what we resist. We're supposed to go towards the North Node. We're supposed to go towards that influence and that indicator, but it's very subtle and it's spiritual and it's only available once you learn your chart. So that person could be, for example, a very quiet person who's computer oriented. They do IT, they live inside a computer. They discover their North Node, which is the sign, the indicator of how to get the shortcut to enlightenment. And we have a lot of information about this. Then I'm going to say to them, you know what? You got to start talking. So it gives you kind of like a cheater's guide, like a little bit of a cheat sheet, the North Node, on how to facilitate the emergence of your soul. Because every single one of you listening today, you signed up and you couldn't read the fine print. And the astrology chart helps you read the fine print. And the North Node gives you the shortcut straight to how are you going to get there quickly. And by the way, it doesn't show up as a planet. It doesn't get aspected. But it really does show up as an influence sitting underneath the seat, under the drawers, inside the drawers, in the suitcase, under the bed. North Node is hiding. And only when you study astrology do you find out what it's about. That's a good plug for getting conscious. Here, listen to me. The function of psychology, said Carl Jung, who was an astrologer, is to make the unconscious conscious. So when the impulses become aware, you're suddenly heightened, the colors get brighter, your hearing gets more specific, you notice symbols around you, you find yourself in sync with things. That's the function of bringing your unconscious into consciousness and suddenly being in sync with this invisible world called Pisces land. And the next thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire. Can folks say, Jed, move away from there. They say, California is the place you ought to be, so he loaded us up a truck and he moved to astrology. He just made that up. To astrology. How come I can't see any more chatting? Oh, it's all down here. Shit. I've been missing.
Another question that came in that I think is a really good one. It says, what is more important in your North Node, though I think this could go across any of the planets, the sign or the house?
Okay, so I just read from, was that from Mavis, that she said there was too much information. Let me simplify this and back up. You're going to learn astrology because there's a puppet string being pulled that you don't know about that you need some help with. 1, 2, you've been incarnated, and the more you commit to being here, the faster you're going to get on with this life. 3, your circumstance, while you may not like them, you have 2 choices: to actually accept them or to change them. 4, you came with a soul that's based on your time of birth that is the easiest way to facilitate the evolution of you and our species. 5, there's this thing called the North Node, who is hiding underneath your bed, inside the drawer, in your closet. You won't find it till you study astrology. And it is the shortcut to enlightenment should you choose to go that way. That was very good, Deb.
And is the North Node your shadow? Carolyn wants to know.
Well, the north node, it's more, the north node is, the south node is actually your shadow because it's the past life influence that you fall into. So when you go, let's pull the chart up again, Carrie. When you go find your north node, it looks like a headset from a radio. There it is. It's on two little balls with a loop around it. And if you look on the chart, it's called the true node. Look there in the little blue box, Carrie, there you go. It's always the indicator, and there's a whole class on this, and you guys will probably get this if you take the course. We do a big 2 weeks, like this is big, so I'm putting it into a tiny spot. The north node is what you're aiming at this lifetime to move towards your evolution, but the south node is the past life that you came from. And that's our default. That's what we lean into, and that's where our shadow is, because we get lazy. Wherever the south node is where you're lazy. Now, that was kind of short and dippy, and it's not my style. I like to go deep and heavy because I've got Scorpio in me. But as a beginner, just know that your sun, moon, and rising, you're focusing on your rising. If you don't have your birth time, go use Saturn. And if you want to know what the shortcut to enlightenment, look for your north node. But most important, go look to the opposite sign of the north node. It's always exactly opposite. It's implied. It's not even written down. If your north node, in this case, we're looking at the chart of today, is in Virgo, automatically I know the south node's in Pisces because I know that's the opposite sign. But you'd have to study astrology to know these signs. And that's why you take the astrology class, you guys. That's what the astrology class is all about, to learn specifically what you're here to learn based on your birth time. And we use your chart. The cool thing about the class is you study you. You were going to say something, Carrie?
Nope, I think we got through a lot of the questions. There are quite a few coming in still.
Someone say 41 years studying astrology.
Can you talk a little bit about what it means to have your sun and rising sign in the same sign?
Think how cool that would be. If your sun and your rising were in the same sign. Cuckoo to you too. I'm watching the bird do cuckoo. If your rising sign is your soul, and your sun sign is what you came, it's your ego, and they're the same, Alice Bailey would fall in love with you. Any esoteric law would be in love with you. Because why? Because the goal of this movie, you've got an ego and you've got a soul. The soul's in the backseat of the car going, God, they never listen to me until there's a crisis, and then they open up. The ego goes, I'm on a roll. We're acting normal. We got a nice car, little outfit. We're going to dress up, or we're not going to dress up, or we're going to do it, and whatever our little ego wants. The soul's like, excuse me, can I talk? No, so the ego, shut up. I got the music on, and you're bugging me. And the soul goes, well, I'm going to wait for an accident. I'm going to wait for a breakup. I'm going to wait for an illness. I'm going to wait for a financial crisis. I'm going to wait for a death. Any of those things will wake me up. And then suddenly there's crisis, and the soul goes, wait a minute. What happened? Can I come in the front seat? And the ego goes, yeah, we need you now. Well, somebody born with those two sitting together, they're not going to have to use crisis to wake up. So it's the good news is they are very congruent. The bad news is when you're very soulful, you don't have a big appetite to take care of yourself. The soul is very selfless. So it's a little tricky when the sun and the rising are the same, because the person can lose their ego appetite and be mostly in their soul. And that's a great life as far as merit and being of service, but it doesn't necessarily feed your human. And by the way, you guys, write this down. You're all here in service to the marriage between your soul and your human. One or the other is opposite, is lopsided. You can't do soulful lifetimes without being sacrificed. That's what happened to any highly spiritual being, like a lady, Lady Di is a great example, or a Mother Teresa, and they get sacrificed. And then a big fat ego, we won't use names, they have all this whoopla, and they wear funny hairdos, and they look in the mirror a lot, and they get themselves rejected, and people get mad at them because they aren't very kind. So the ego is successful, but it's not very loved. And the soul is very loved, but it's not very successful. The idea is to marry the two. I love that story. And what would that look like? You know, you look at a couple and you see them in tandem, or you look at somebody who's got a balanced lifestyle, or you find somebody who's very simple, but they have a really rich self-care program. And those are the people that blend the ego and the soul. It doesn't have to be famous. It just has to be that you value your human self and her pleasure, and you love to be of service and give. Put those two together, and what do you get? Aunt Jemima's waffles without her syrup is like the spring without the fall. There's only one thing worse in the whole universe, and that's no Aunt Jemima at all. You got to have the pancakes and the syrup. Can you imagine having pancakes without the syrup? You want to find out more about the class, you click on this link, because we're starting to open up the cart in 2 weeks, and you too can become a commercial memorizer. Good. Good. Campbell chicken soup is good. How do I find my ascendant? Katrina, you go on astro.com homepage, you click on free horoscopes right at the top, scroll down to chart drawing, and on you go. And the next question brought to us by Carrie Morley is?
We're getting a lot of specific ones, so we won't be able to get into all of them tonight. But this is being recorded, so if you missed anything, you will receive a link to watch the recording tomorrow. So watch your inbox for that.
Tomorrow, I love ya. Tomorrow, you're only a day away.
And I'm going to put the link to the class one more time in the chat. If you do have specific questions like, my sun's in Sag and my ascendant is Virgo, we go really deep into that in the class.
That's what the class is about, silly. Listen, I'm teasing you. I'm playing with you. This is entertainment. Deborah Silverman brought to you by 2 planets in Leo and Uranus in the midheaven on the top of her chart. I'm entertaining you. This is serious, you guys. Let me tell you something. We are starving. Can you hear the birds? We are starving for consciousness. We are at the critical moment in her story where we are going to make a difference. And the astromaniacs and the yoga maniacs and the people that are doing meditation and the people that are organic and the ones that are taking care of the environment and the energy levels and the ones that are taking care of the kids, we're the ones that are going to make this planet come back home to what it once was. So get on board, honey.
And I'll also make a plug. We're doing another webinar next week that's called Discipline and Discipleship, How to Follow Through on Your New Year's Resolutions. So I'm going to put the link to that in the chat right now too.
And then we'll go through every single sign and talk to you about how does your sign establish some discipline. And we record these and you can take them and they're free material. But the short answer for everyone in this conversation is, if you want to have sex, I knew I'd get your attention. If you want to have money, I knew I'd get your attention. If you want to have fun, I knew I'd get your attention. Then you have to be yourself. Because everyone else is taken. How do I find my AC, she asked. Is there any more questions here? I was singing for all of you, the South Node. And we have here, damn ego, big fat ego. You know what ego stands for? Evading God's oneness. The oneness is the soul. The ego is the individual. We must have both to play the game and do it right. Look at that. What if your rising and your sun sign are opposite? That's a very interesting question. When the rising and the sun sign are opposite, there's a wonderful dialogue that goes on that really makes this conversation important. You know, not everybody cares about waking up, as you notice. Some people don't even care about astrology. I can't imagine. Everybody I meet, every day, I'm so fascinated by the people's personalities. Let's see, I'm scrolling down to here. The Aishi won't show unless you, can you tell us about some of your favorite astrology books? Yes, I would read, first thing I would go get Linda Goodman. It's old, it's timely, it's good. I would read the only astrology book you ever need. There's 2 of them out there. Keep It Simple, Stupid. What I did when I started astrology was I would put the books out. I never read a whole book, but I would open up and I would read about what it meant to have Mercury and Taurus and you become like a little kid and you give yourself a certain amount of time to read, and then you have a notebook. This is what happens in our class. And you have a big note and it starts to grow with more and more content. It becomes a lifelong study. Why are there 3 ascendants? That's interesting. 3 years ago. Okay. Enjoyed. Oh, thank you, Patty. Hey, you guys. I wrote a book called The Missing Element that you can get me to sign for you. If you go on my website, there it is. It's called The Missing Element, and it doesn't do astrology, but it's a beginner's handbook on how to be yourself. I'm going to rename it. The Beginner's Handbook on how to be yourself. And numerology is definitely related to this. Thank you, you guys, for loving my book, Joy. I appreciate that. And love yourself exactly the way you are, said Jan Elliott. And you're reading it now, Michelle. That makes me so happy. Thank you, you guys. You can't imagine how thankful I am. That book, The Missing Element. Anybody out there that wants to read The Missing Element, it is my gift to you to understand the first beginner steps of how to be comfortable in your own skin. So the main difference between the sun sign and the rising sign, Molly, the sun sign is your ego. It's the knee-jerk response where you don't have free will. The rising sign is what you can resist. You can choose not to rise into your rising sign. You can just take the low road. And on the rising sign, it can go one of two ways, the low road or the high road. It's your call. Oh, I'm the missing element. I didn't find it helpful to balance Laura. Oopsie. I'm reading it now, said Kathy Kobick. Astrology is not complicated, Judy Beatoncourt, if you take the class. I make it so comfortable in your skin. Sexy, said Katrina Plum. It's hard for me to finish what I start, but I must finish this book. You don't have to finish anything with your Aries. You can just run around in circles. I'm so glad, Nicola, you found permission to be yourself, and that Joy, you're more yourself. Does the book address how to balance the ones you're lower? Yes, it does. Yes, it does, Jennifer. The book's title is The Missing Element. And if you click on this link, you can get me to sign you a copy, or you can go to Amazon. And Sting is cute too. That's hysterical. Okay, you guys. I think I forgot to eat, Hoku. Again. I forget to eat. God, I forget to eat. That's not a good thing. And then I start to think like this.
Horrible air.
I know. Why can't I be like you? Did you eat today?
Mm-hmm.
What'd you eat?
Egg whites.
Ew. No wonder I didn't eat. Thank you once again, Terry. Love and light to you. I have a few pickles. I had a few pickles, said Christy. Oh, I did read my book, Julie Devour, but I don't know how to get it out there. You're welcome, Christy and Leah and Marlene, Kathy, Joy. I forget to eat. You know why? Because we're airheads. You're probably an airhead too. I love you. Awesomeness. Thank you, bunches. Start doing the things you don't do. Thanks, Deborah. I hope one day I can afford your class, Carolyn. Thanks, Buckjes. What does that mean? Thanks, a doozy. I want to be in your class, Patty. Kisses and yum-yums. Patty Meyer, you know my language. I forgot to eat this year. Oh no, I haven't eaten since last year. I'm hungry, Hoku, I'm hungry. I'm just going to read all these little things. Deborah